Alrighty, howdy neighbors and welcome back to Cabin Fever. Last time we found about the goodest girl and the unfortunate fate she befell. Now we're trying to figure out more about Mallory, but she's refusing. Your favorite memory or hopes for the future? Let's go hopes for the future.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Now apparently we're doing an interview.
Hang on, that sounded like a job interview question. Let me try again. What kind of life do you dream about having? What are your hopes for the future?
Mallory smiled sadly.
You mean, aside from hoping someone finds a way to cure this virus?
Yeah, aside from that.
She thought for a moment, her gaze wandering.
It's sort of hard to imagine any particular future when everything seems so fragile all the time. Anything could change at any moment. But I guess no matter my situation, I'd always want to help people. Like, I'd love to keep a giant garden just so I could share all the fruits and veggies with my neighbors. Also, I would learn how to knit socks so I can make sure everyone's feet stay nice and warm because cold toes are the worst.
Here, here.
And maybe someday I could have a family of my own.
She blushed as she said that last part. I definitely didn't want her to feel embarrassed, so I quickly replied.
Wow. In my fantasy, I get abducted by aliens and they teach me how to drive their spaceship.
Both equally valid, you know. Mallory burst out laughing.
Yeah, I may have to rethink that. For real though, that's a nice dream. Very altruistic.
Mallory smiled and gave a slight shrug.
Anyway, I should probably let you get back to work now.
The last thing I wanted to do was go back to work. Gave her a little poke just for suggesting it.
Don't do that! I'm super ticklish!
Oh, are you? I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
I poked her again, gently waggling my feet. You know what it reminds me of is like in the cartoons, there's a box of like donuts or whatever, and a cartoon character like stands above it, wiggling the fingers like, don't mind if I do! That's exactly what I'm thinking is happening here. She twisted in her seat, laughing, her eyes lighting up. Her laugh was beautiful. She squealed and kicked her feet as I tickled her sides. Playful attempt at retaliation sent her slipping off her chair, but easily caught her. And suddenly it was like our arms were around one another. We sat there on the floor, both of us laughing through our breathlessness. It was amazing. And that was a little awkward. I withdrew my arms and got to my feet. I helped her up. Stood there for a moment, just looking at each other.
I have an idea. Let me treat you to a special dinner tonight.
A special dinner? Ooh, and what would that be?
I haven't thought that far ahead yet. Give me a minute.
Thought about what sort of meal I could make from the things I had in the kitchen or pantry. Truthfully, I wasn't a very good cook. I mean, I could throw together a salad or a sandwich, but that would be special enough. A thought sprung in my mind. In the pantry there was a very old bottle of red wine. I don't know if it was fancy or even good wine, but it was the only bottle of booze I had in the house. Because of that, I valued it highly. Originally, I intended to save it for a special occasion. Specifically, the day the virus was cured. My bottle had been sitting on the shelf for many years. The hopeful note I attached to it to celebrate the cure faded and dusty. Could I open it now? Should I open it now? Nah. It was special, very special. Meant for a day that might not come. Wine is meant to be shared, my brain reminded me. What the hell, I'll do it. I'll share the wine with Mallory. I pushed my head through the air and gave my best pompous butler impersonation.
A most decadent helping of popped corn with truffle oil and adult beverages.
Mallory stared at me, then tossed her head back in laughter.
Dinner is popcorn and nondescript alcohol? That sounds fantastic.
While I had the popcorn going, I asked Mallory to look for the truffle oil from the cellar.
I'm back. I think this is the right one.
She turned the bottle for me to read the label. scribbled in my own sloppy, jiffy maker writing were the words, "the good stuff." I nodded and motioned my chin to show her where to get the wine glasses and bowls.
So you made this truffle oil yourself?
Yeah, it's not too hard once you get the hang of it. The first batches I ever made were terrible though. Lots of trial and error before I landed on the right mix of ingredients and timing.
She brought out a large bowl from the cupboard and placed it beside me for the popcorn.
Wow, that's so cool. I think it's incredible that you've learned to do all these things.
That's just how it goes when you live on your own. If you'd like, I can teach you.
I reached up to grab the wine glasses. She She poked her head curiously at me.
You would want to teach me?
Of course. You're a good company, and it might be fun to show you how these things work.
She smiled at me and took the wine glasses over to the living room, dusting them off with her sweater as she walked. The popcorn was almost ready. Settling into the couch to watch a movie on my computer felt very different to the beautiful girl beside me. The same one who, only a few minutes earlier, was on the verge of tears. I was happy that I could cheer her up, if only for a little while. She seemed much happier with the distraction of popcorn and a movie.
Oh my goodness, this wine is the best tasting thing I've ever had in my life.
Her cheeks began to turn rosy after just the first sip. It made me happy seeing her like this, and I was glad that I could share this small gift with someone.
What sort of movie would you like to watch?
How about something with action? And romance? Oh, and some comedy too.
That's a tall order. Let me see what I can find.
It wasn't long before we both relaxed and let ourselves be absorbed into the movie. It was a strange story about a girl from the moon who fell in love with a human. They had to overcome their differences in order to realize they were destined to be together. There was also a moon cat that would bust out wisecracks every 10 minutes. And Mallory roaring with laughter, as I expected. Is this Sailor Moon?
This cat, I can't believe some of the things he says.
Her laughter was infectious. It soon had me joining in, despite the subpar humor of the movie.
I haven't laughed like this in so long. Oh my gosh, my stomach hurts from laughing.
Clumsily, I spilled a bit of wine on my pajama pants. A splotch that landed right on my... Nope. The sight of it made us roar with more laughter. It may have been the wine causing us to act so funny, but it may have just been that we were long overdue for a good honest laugh. Being like this with her made me feel like my old self. Or rather, like the person I might have been had my circumstances not forced me to become a young hermit. I wondered when we had started sitting so close to each other. I suppose it was so we could share the bowl of popcorn without having to reach. In fact, Mallory was so close to me that I could feel the heat radiating off of her. I searched how Nope. Hate every bit of this. Not surprised she didn't recoil. So as my hand sat for the remainder of the movie, too nervous to move either way. At one point I noticed her hand fall to her lap. It was resting in a way that seemed uncomfortable, the palm facing upward. It was honestly quite distracting. I could figure out if she had left it out for me to hold or not. The movie ended. I missed my chance.
I really enjoyed that. Thanks so much for watching with me.
Parts of it were entertaining, definitely. Like that bizarre turtle in a top hat.
That's right. And how we saved them from that lizard beast was so insane.
We sat together for another minute, rechanting the ridiculousness of the story we had just experienced. All the windows were dark now, and Mallory looked exhausted. I felt pretty tired too.
I guess I should get off your bed and let you get some sleep.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. See you in the morning?
Definitely.
A little reluctantly, I left Mallory on the couch and climbed up the stairs to my bedroom. As I settled into bed, I felt a strange mix of happiness and loneliness. Two feelings I hadn't felt or allowed myself to feel in a long, long time. pain of losing my family had been too much to bear. And so my heart had shut off, and I just existed, going through the motions, waiting endlessly for nothing in particular. Now I was rediscovering myself, relearning what it meant to be human. It was all because of Mallory. Then, as though she had known I was thinking about her, Mallory called up to me.
Sweet dreams.
You too. Get a good night's sleep.
I yawned and nestled deeper into my pillow. Before I could remember what I had been thinking about, I was fast asleep. Chapter 6, Attachment. Oh, sorry, forgot.
Good morning, sleepyhead.
Oh, please do not be in my grill. A voice drew me toward consciousness, but I didn't know if it was really part of the dream. I heard a familiar creaking. Who could be walking up the stairs? I was pretty sure it wasn't me. No, I was definitely laying in my bed. My eyelids were heavy. My brain was only half awake. A weight pressed down on the bed near my feet.
Wakey, wakey.
Please do not be in my grill. It sounded like Mallory. I cheered on the edge of consciousness, hoping I'd be left alone to fall back into slumber. The weight at the end of the bed shifted, shaking me a little. I squeezed my eyes shut.
Okay, you leave me no choice. Incoming pounce attack!
Please do not be in my grill. I beg of you, no. I was jolted awake then, fully this time, by the force of Mallory jumping on top of me.
Ah!
A panic shout escaped me as I yanked the covers up past my neck, leaving my face exposed. Mallory beamed, straddling me proudly, her clear, aquamarine eyes filled with mischief.
Oops, did I scare you? Well, you left me no choice. I tried calling you, throwing things at you, and wafting delicious smells in your direction. None of those worked, so this was my last resort for getting you to wake up. And it did the trick. You're awake now.
What kind of monster just pounces like that on a poor defenseless sleeping person?
Monster, you say? Wow, you sure do know how to give a girl a compliment.
I scowled at her playfully. Pretty sure she was resting her whole weight on me. But she felt like nothing. And though I'd been legitimately startled, more than a little confused, I found now that I didn't dislike the situation. Hey to hear.
If you're jumping about like this, does that mean your leg is feeling better?
Mallory looked down at her bandaged leg and then back up at me. She pursed her lips.
It doesn't hurt as much, but it feels kinda weak. Like it might give out if I put too much weight on it.
I didn't know enough to know if that was normal, or what it meant. I nodded vaguely and just stared up at her. She stared at me, and then I shook myself.
So why did you need me to wake up so urgently?
She crooked her head.
I made you breakfast and I didn't want it to get cold. And I was worried. You're usually up way earlier than this. And maybe I was a little lonely and sort of missed you.
What did she mean by usually up way earlier? I craned my neck to check the clock on my nightstand. Oh, that was what she meant.
Damn, what's up with me? I never sleep this long.
Sometimes your body just needs a little extra rest. Okay, now...
Mallory twisted, leaned over the bed, and produced, as if from nowhere, a plate of breakfast.
Ta-da!
It's waffles! I would eat the strawberries. She held the plate out, showed me a sack of fluffy golden waffles. They smelled amazing, fruity and sweet, flecked with bread and drizzled with maple syrup. I would no longer eat the strawberries.
My mouth is watering. I never knew that was an actual thing that happened to mouths.
Strawberry waffles from scratch will do that to you. You'll have to tell me once you taste them, but I think I may have outdone myself this time. The only thing I did make from scratch is the syrup.
And the strawberries.
That's okay. I made the syrup from scratch.
Wait, you did?
I nodded.
There are tons of maple trees around here. I harvest their sap at the end of each winter. It's pretty simple. I drill small holes into the trees and insert what's called a spile, which is like a spout. The sap drains out through there and into a bucket. When I have enough to fill a pot, I essentially boil it down until it's mostly evaporated. Then it's syrup. And the best part is, it keeps forever, so I can just store it in glass jars in my pantry.
Mallory had never looked happier, more amazed, or more beautiful.
That sounds like some kind of fairy magic.
I laughed.
The real magic is your cooking. This looks incredible. Although, do you mind taking it downstairs so we can eat there? I'd like to get dressed and, well,
Mary looked down at herself when she was startling me, and her face turned bright red rapidly. She scrambled to get off me, nearly dropping the plate of waffles, and her fluster stayed.
I'll do that now. Sorry. See you downstairs.
Making eye contact, she raced down the stairs. There came the sound of cutlery being fumbled with in the kitchen below. I dragged my hand down my face, equal parts amused, exacerbated, and happy. After breakfast, Mallory was quick to scoop up my plate and cutlery. I offered to help, but she said she would do them herself. By now, I had learned that there was no arguing with her. Not because she was particularly stubborn, but because I caved at the slightest pushback. She made me weak, but like in a nice way. So as she cleaned up, I walked to the window overlooking the garden. The skies were dark and dreary, more ominous this morning than before. The ground glistened, and I could see puddles on the path leading up to the door. They rippled as a gust of wind rushed past.
I guess it's another day indoors. Look how glum that weather is.
Hmm.
I glanced back at Mallory in the kitchen. She took a look through the window and made a little pouty face.
Also, clouds like this mean we're not getting any solar, so we're relying on what's stored in the battery bank for now. We should limit how much electricity we use today.
Okay, I'll be extra careful.
I turned back to the window and pressed my hand against it. The glass was cold, much colder than usual. If it was going to rain all day and be chilly, I should bring in some extra wood for the fire. 30 pieces should do. Then I swung the glance back at Mallory. Mallory in her threadbare sweater dress. So thin and so short. To make it 50 pieces, I told my brain. My brain agreed. Outside, the rain was really coming down. I got close to the edge of the cabin, sneaking along under the cover, moving away to the woodshed. The ground was too muddy to use a wheelbarrow. I figured I'd have to make a long trip. I gathered up a big armload of firewood and brought it back to the cabin. I repeated this process, getting wetter and cooler as I went. On the last trip to the woodshed, it occurred to me that I would never have bothered with much effort if it were only myself in the cabin. I made do with the few logs already inside, got myself some blankets, and, if I came to this, something clothes. Mallory deserved better than that. After bringing all the wood inside, I laid out on the towel beside the fireplace. I always inspected the logs for bugs. I didn't want anything creepy hitching a ride inside my home. Once that task was done, I arranged a couple of logs with some kindling and got a little fire going in the fireplace. I sat there for a few minutes, stoking the flames while the wood hissed and popped. Soon the whole living room was toasty. Mallory appeared by my side and sat down. She leaned toward the fire, its orange glow warming her face. I got myself staring at her and slapped my hands against my thighs.
Well, I better make use of this time and get some work done on my computer.
Doesn't that use up the electricity?
The computer only draws around 250 watts. A couple of hours won't make much of a difference.
Mallory stayed by the fire while I went to my desk and put up my computer. The sound of drizzling rain outside and the crackling fire in the fireplace soothed me as I settled into my chair. I could live like this forever, I thought. The peaceful atmosphere was interrupted by an annoying cascade of chimes from my email. I took a peek at my inbox and saw more spam, of course. Read it. I wrote the first of the sketchy forwards.
Wow, more new cures for the virus discovered. This says, miraculous cure found. Dihydrogen monoxide combined with pink sodium chloride will save your life. Click here now to learn. Yeah, no, that link is definitely staying blue.
Are they telling you to drink salt water? Pink salt water, excuse me. That's very funny.
And this other one has more emojis than actual words.
Mallory laughed.
You never know. One of those headlines might turn out to be true someday.
Oh, Mallory, you're such an optimist.
I rolled my eyes playfully. Without thinking about it more than that, I deleted both those emails. Then I spent a few minutes checking some websites that are part of my daily routine. Sites for tech news, world news, and weather. Random ad for amazing delivery services reminded me about that first aid kit I need to replace. I decided I might as well grab some painkillers too, since there had only been a handful left in the bottle when Mallory had asked for one for her leg. She seemed much better now, but still, it's good to have things like that on hand. You never know when a headache might strike, or a joint might get sprained. I ordered the new first aid kit and the aspirin. And then something caught my eye. It was a type of ad I never usually get, and certainly never paid attention to, but for some reason I did this time. It was just a basic advertisement peddling some chintzy jewelry. Something compelled me to take a closer look. After clicking through, I was presented with an image of a stunning silver ring in the shape of a bow. The color and the sparkle immediately reminded me of Mallory. I wanted to buy it. For her. Next thing I knew, the order had been placed, and a message appeared letting me know that all 3 of my purchased items will be arriving by a drone drop within the next few days. The whole order, plus delivery fees, was ridiculously expensive. But what else was I going to spend my money on? I leaned back in my chair, a little bit in disbelief myself. I looked over at Mallory sitting in the living room. She had that old basket of clothes sat beside her, with a little pile of things neatly refolded beside it. Her head was bent low over some garment in her lap, her fingers working away. I noticed that she was using the needle and thread, sewing some holes and fastening buttons back where they belonged. I forgot about the work I wanted to be done. I got out of my seat and wandered over to look more closely at what she was doing.
Are you mending my clothes?
She brightened.
Yes, those ones are already done, and these ones here are still in progress.
I didn't even know you'd been working on this.
Well, normally I work on it before I go to sleep or when I first wake up. I find it sort of meditative.
You know, you don't have to do all these things for me.
I like keeping busy, and I like being helpful. Really, you've been so generous and kind taking me in like this. I just want to do everything I can to help you.
Oh, I have been helped, thank you. She kept working while she talked, so sweet and matter-of-fact. I smiled, and suddenly I really didn't want to bother with work. I just wanted to hang out with her.
You know, I don't think I'm in the right headspace for work today. Luckily, I don't have any looming deadlines, so maybe I'll take today off? We could just sit and enjoy the fire together. Maybe we could play a board game.
Mallory looked up at me in surprise.
Ooh, I love games. What did you have in mind?
I searched my memory. What 2-player games did I have kicking about? Most of the board games left in the cabin, more than a decade old. They were ones I used to play with my family when we vacationed here. Many of them were probably missing cards or pieces.
How about chess? Do you know how to play?
No. Surely the chess set on the game shelf would still be intact. And those old pieces would be thrilled to get some use after all these years.
Chess? Yes. I used to play with my sister sometimes. I'm probably not very good at it.
That's okay. Neither am I. I'll grab the game. Meet me at the table, okay?
I went to retrieve the chess set, just where I remembered. I unearthed the box and was dusting it off with my sleeve when I heard Mallory make a low noise.
Uh-oh.
I tried to check on her. She's still sitting on the floor beside the fireplace, mended clothes strewn about.
What's wrong?
She She raised her hand up to her lips and began biting her nail.
I can't get up. My leg's fallen asleep.
Her words brought back a familiar phrase she said the night we met. I chuckled and reached out my hand to her.
Well, at least it's only asleep and not caught in a trap this time.
She smiled and extended my hand to lift her up. Funny how I didn't even think twice about it anymore.
White or black?
We set the board out on the table and started setting up the pieces.
White, please.
Sat down on the black side of the board and finished arranging my pieces. When I looked up, Mallory was examining the box with pursed lips.
Are you missing a piece?
Looks that way. I don't mind subbing in a salt shaker or something else to play with.
No way. We should play with real pieces.
She gave me a look. It was sort of dismissive, sort of disheartened. But I meant when I said I knew how to cheer her up.
Seriously, I can make you a proper chess piece. And I can make it look however you like.
Riley stared at me, one eyebrow a little higher than the other.
How?
Held out one finger and headed toward my computer desk.
Remember the gauze with the cute potato pattern on it? I printed that out with my 3D printer. See?
I took the equipment out and hooked it up to my computer, giving her a quick overview as I did.
This is just a small one, but it's very useful and quite simple. I just plug in the USB cable to my computer, then use a program to tell the printer what to make.
Wow, that's so cool. I'm missing the queen. Can it make that piece?
I let out a theatrical laugh, throwing my head back as I did.
This baby can make anything your heart desires. Ask and you shall receive.
She cradled her chin while she thought.
I desire a cat.
A cat queen? All right, that works.
Can I watch?
The enthusiasm she showed left no room for arguments. I loaded on my software to search for cat and picked out a cute figurine. I set it up to print and Mallory pressed the very last OK button to get the process started. Several indicator lights on the 3D printer flashed as it got to work. It started to hum and whir.
It's like something out of science fiction.
Mallory tilted her head to get a better look at the printer. She stood up to lean over and watch the cat being formed from above. The angle nope. We both quiet while we waited. Level after level, the cat queen built upon itself. And about 4 minutes later, we had a replacement chess piece. I moved the piece from the printer, handed it to Mallory, and watched her expression turn from amazement to joy.
It's perfect.
And it wasn't the only thing. We sat down to play. The conversation came so easily. We shared what we knew about chess, how we learned to play, and how the game itself dated back to the 15th century, and how these days most people played it online. We talked about Deep Blue, the first computer to beat the world chess champion, and the conversation turned to other random things that made us laugh, little anecdotes from childhood, which we had about the universe. It turned out to be one of those days where time just passed you by, impossible to notice. Until Mallory sat up straight while I was contemplating my options, pointing urgently.
Hey, look! There! The clouds are breaking.
Nuh-uh, I'm not falling for that. You just want me to turn my back so you can move the pieces around. You trickster, you.
I tisked at her, shaking my head as she laughed.
No, seriously. Look, the sun is shining over there. Can we go outside to look at it?
I twisted my seat. Through the window I could see the great gray sky. And there over the mountains, a glowing crack shedded golden sunbeams down onto the land.
Wow. Okay, yeah, good idea. And I know a perfect viewing spot.
Mallory gleefully hopped out of a chair and took my hand in hers. So we're on the roof. That's smart. Outside the air was damp. We walked together around the side of the house to the ladder I'd used the other day. I climbed up first, then turned to help Mallory up the last ladder rung and over the edge of the roof. Her hands felt so little and fragile in mine.
Watch your step. It's still wet and might be slippery. Luckily, the ridges help give traction.
We stood side by side, and out of an abundance of caution, and only an abundance of caution, I held her. The sun was on its way down, and I could tell the sunset was going to be incredible.
What do you think? Pretty good spot to watch the sunset?
Mallory took a few steps forward, leaving my hands empty. I shoved them into my pockets. For a moment, everything was quiet. I scanned the world around me and saw gray clouds streaking downward in the distance. Trees in heavy shadow, with their tips lit up by the sinking sun. The ruins of a city nestled in a thriving landscape, and her. She let out a long, careful sigh, turning slightly to look back in my direction.
It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
A cool wind blew past, catching her shining platinum hair and sending a few strands dancing around her head. There's something mournful in her tone, and it made my heart ache.
Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, for showing me all of this.
I stared at her, wondering why she sounded so sad, yet also understanding that her sadness was the same as mine. God, she was beautiful. I stared and didn't know how I'd lived so long without her. Something changed up there in the roof. I came back to myself when a strong, cold gust of wind rushed past me, and I realized the sun had dipped beneath the horizon. I spent the whole time watching Mallory instead of watching the sunset.
It's already over? It happened so quick.
Yeah, it did.
Mallory had her arms wrapped around herself. I saw goosebumps on her legs, a little shivering in her shoulders.
I don't know about you, but I'm freezing. Shall we go back in?
I never paid attention before. I never cared.
She was so sad. I wanted to make it stop for her, but I didn't know how.
Maybe the most beautiful things are beautiful because they're fleeting. You have to appreciate them while they're there. But hey, there'll be another sunset tomorrow.
It was getting dark now. I felt a few raindrops and the air felt heavy and sharp.
It's starting to rain again. Come on, let's go in.
Mallory turned slowly, nodding, not looking me in the eye. I stood by the ladder.
After you.
Her head was bowed and she moved so tentatively. But I couldn't tell whether it was because she was sad or because she was nervous. God, I keep picking the wrong things. Here we go. Let's help her.
Let me help you down.
Off my hand, she rested it firmly and shuffled toward the edge of the roof, turning around. She lowered herself onto the ladder slowly, making her way down one careful step at a time. I waited for her to reach the bottom before I climbed down after her.
Thank you. You're like my own personal guardian. I feel like you'd never let anything bad happen to me.
Except for a bear trap, yeah.
Not if you could help it anyway.
Of course. I care about your well-being.
She smiled at me, and we carefully made our way back inside of the house. The fire burned low. Inside the cabin was warm and inviting. I felt a strange sense of calm.
It's so nice in here. I didn't realize how cold I was.
I nodded, resisting the urge to remind her about the jacket I'd offer every time we went through the door. She wish she wasn't in the mood for me to poke fun at her. It was getting late. My stomach ached for something to eat, and I was sure she needed something too.
How about I heat up something from the freezer? And while we're waiting, we can have tea. It's my turn to make it this time.
That sounds nice.
She settled herself by the fire, gazing into the glowing embers. She seemed a million miles away. I made my way over to the kitchen and filled up the kettle. I took out a container of stew and began the process of thawing it on the stove. I searched through my pantry for a particular jar of loose-leaf tea, something I wanted her to try, waiting for the water to boil. The tea was made. I poured Mallory's into a tacky cat mug my mother had bought at a yard sale once upon a time. Glad to see Mallory's eyes light up when I handed her the mug.
Oh my, this is the cutest.
I thought you might like it.
I sat by her on the couch. The rain was coming down again, drumming hard on the window. We sat just listening, sipping our tea.
This tea is super yummy. Where did you get it from?
Phew, I was hoping you'd say that. I actually made it myself. If you didn't like it, I probably would have told you it was a free sample that came in the mail or something.
You really made it? Like you grew it in your fish garden?
Yep, harvested the tea leaves myself, dried them, tested different blends.
That's amazing. Who taught you all that?
I cleared my throat, a little nervous.
My mom did. She was a doctor. But she always had an affinity for herbal home remedies too. You know, ginger for an upset stomach, honey for a sore throat, antibiotics for an infection. When I was a kid, I didn't know there was any difference. All I knew was that whenever I was sick or hurt, my mom would whip out some drink or salve that made everything better. It was like witchcraft. She was really the one who taught me all about plants, how to take care of them, how they can be used.
Remembering my mother like that made my throat feel tight, brought a tear to my eye, and a smile on my lips. It was the strangest feeling, totally bittersweet. Mallory's voice softened.
Your mother sounds incredible. If she was a doctor, then she probably saved many lives.
Yes, she and my father both helped save many people.
Gathering the courage to continue talking about them, took a deep breath and closed my eyes.
They both died helping people. Until the bitter end, they tried to save as many lives as possible.
Mallory put her hand on top of mine. It was unusually warm, probably a result of her holding onto the tea mug.
They left behind a wonderful person, and you should be proud of that fact. I'm sorry that you lost them.
Hearing her kind words nearly sent me into another wave of emotions, but I managed to hold them back.
Thanks. So, is it your turn again? I've told you about my parents and my dog, but you haven't told me anything about your family.
I tried to make my voice sound light and teasing, but really I was serious. I wanted to know her. Her hand twitched, and for the second I was afraid she would take it away, but she didn't. She just stared at me, and the silence went on so long I felt I had to fill it.
Honestly, Mallory, why are you so secretive? Why can't you tell me what you were doing out in the rain that night? I want to know what brought you to me.
I did it. She pulled away and sank a little deeper into the couch, looking so sorrowful it hurt.
I'm scared to talk about it. Just thinking about it hurts so much. And I'm afraid that if I say it out loud, I won't be able to take the pain.
I frowned.
I understand, but if you share it with someone who cares about you, then they'll carry some of that pain too. You won't have to shoulder it alone. That someone is me, by the way, in case it wasn't obvious.
She smiled softly.
I do want you to know me. To know about them. My family. Life was hard, but I loved them so much. It was just me, my mom, and my little sister. That was my bubble.
It's so similar to my bubble.
We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. We learned to do a lot with the little. Cooking nice meals out of subpar food, dressing up in old worn-out clothes, reenacting our favorite books when we couldn't read because the power was out again and there was no light. Our mom was a factory worker, so she had to go out every day to earn money for us so that we could at least survive. When she started showing symptoms, they sent her home. She tried to protect us. She stayed in her room, but we still went in, always trying to get her to eat or drink, giving her aspirin to keep down that awful fever. She kept telling us to stop coming in. We called for an ambulance already, but we were still on the waiting list. And what were we supposed to do? Leave her to die alone in her room? Well, she did die. My sister was with her when it happened. But I was out in the kitchen making us all something to eat. I can't even remember what it was.
Damn. tear ran down Mallory's cheek.
By the time it was our turn for the ambulance to come, it was only to take away a body. My sister and I, we didn't know what to do. How were we going to be able to buy food or pay for electricity? We were at the mercy of companies already struggling to produce anything. Factories in the middle of shutdowns due to waves of sickness. And it just seemed hopeless. But, you know, we had learned about people living outside the cities. Smaller communities living off the land instead of trying to survive the old way. We thought, if that was real, maybe we should just leave the city behind. Somehow figure out a way to be like those people. Like you.
I nodded. For a long time I wondered why anyone would have ever chosen to stay in the cities. Eventually I realized not everyone was lucky enough to have inherited an off-grid cabin like I did. I couldn't imagine the impossibility of getting started from scratch. Mallory gripped the edges of her sweater dress so tightly she trembled.
About a week after our mom died, my sister gave me some laundry she just finished washing. She asked me to hang it out on the balcony to dry. And while I did that, she locked me outside.
Oh.
I thought it was a prank at first, but she wouldn't let me in, and I got upset. I was banging on the door, yelling at her through the glass to open up. She told me she couldn't because she was sick. She'd started developing symptoms the night before, and she struggled with it all night and all morning. And finally, I begged her to open the door. She refused. She said there was no safe way for us to stay together. Our mother's attempts to protect us hadn't worked. So my sister decided to take drastic action while she could.
My heart sank like a stone with every word she spoke.
She locked you out to save you.
Mallory nodded slowly.
We both cried, looking at each other from opposite sides of the glass, while she begged me to go. So, I did. I climbed down the fire escape and just started walking. I wandered along the river and out through the suburbs into the woods. I didn't have anywhere to go, so I just kept on going. Eventually, I was heading up the mountain, totally lost, and that's when I found this place.
I shook my head, completely at a loss for words. I never could have imagined that this was her tale. When she first came to me, bleeding and rain-drenched, she had been bright and kind and helpful. And I remembered the quiet little sobs I had heard after returning way back, the way she sometimes seemed so far away. I wanted to wrap her in my arms and hold her tight, so that no more grief could touch her. She turned and smiled at me through her tears. I realized how good she was at putting on a brave, optimistic face.
I still think that maybe, somehow my sister's okay. Maybe she called for help and they came in time, and found room for her in a hospital ward, and she's fighting right now to pull through. I wonder if this was fate all along. I found you, and you taught me all these things. And we're all going to be just fine.
Despite her words, I slid off the couch and up before her, my body acting on its own. I believed that she was safe here with me, took her hands in a mind to reassure her.
I think you're right. I think it was fate. Because as much as you needed someone like me, I needed someone like you even more.
I felt like I was drowning in her eyes. There was beating down outside, roaring louder as gusts of wind sent torrents crashing against the cabin. I felt this closeness with her, and I hungered for more. More talking, more banter, more laughter, more time, more touching, more everything. In the noise of the rain, I heard the pot of stew I left on the stove starting to bubble.
I should check that.
Mallory rubbed her eyes as I got up and returned to the kitchen. Stew had thawed and heated through quite nicely, especially considering I had left it unattended for so long. Imagine how awkward it would be Oh, it would have been to serve her burnt food after this whole talk. Snowed in my brain. I brought Mallory a bowl. She thanked me. We sat and ate and talked a little, conversation growing lighter as the cabin darkened. The storm kept on and on outside, and soon rolling clumps of thunder were shaking the sky. Mallory's face grew paler as the noise grew. She set her empty bowl aside as she felt uncomfortably, eyes glistening.
It's gotten pretty late. I guess we should go to sleep?
Are you okay?
Oh, totally. I just feel a little on edge during storms, that's all. No big deal. It's really fine.
Okay. Well, there's the crank flashlight on the desk over by the door, if you feel like you need some backup light. And you know I'm just upstairs. Good night, Mallory.
I went upstairs, got undressed, and crawled into the bed. I stared at the ceiling as the rain pounded the window beside me, and howling down over the mountain range. I thought about everything Mallory had told me, and everything that had happened between us over the past few days. Turn off the light. Slowly, I drifted towards sleep, less and less aware of the flashes of lightning and the booming thunder. I started to dream without fully realizing it. Imagined that my old house cat, Fidget, had crawled onto the bed with me. Imagining that my bed was floating on ocean waves. A crack of thunder, louder than the rest, the sequel coming from somewhere very close, woke me. Mallory! Hi! Mallory peered at me from beneath my own blankets. For a moment I thought it was a dream, but nope, I could feel her there beside me, trembling.
I'm sorry. I lied and I'm not fine. I don't like thunder. I just get so scared. I can't help it.
It happens. Tremors in her voice were even worse than with her body. I suspected the storm made her a little uneasy. I had no idea she'd be fighting down such terror. I sat up, reaching for her, my only instinct to comfort and protect. When I remembered, I was okay. I was not dressed. Maybe she won't notice.
It's okay. It's only noise. It'll be over soon.
She nuzzled into me, sniffling. Her face was red, moisture glistening on her face, her chest. She was sweating and crying, and her heart was pounding so hard that I could feel it through the mattress.
I don't want to sleep alone tonight.
Okay. It's okay.
I stopped short, disbelief, and how much my mindset had changed. How had I gone from refusing to be anywhere near her to this? She was in my bed, and we were breathing. Nope. I didn't even check her temperature.
I want to stay with you.
She whispered this, touching my hand, her eyes pleading with me. She's so beautiful. All I wanted to do in this moment was kiss her. Nope. No. Down, boy. I decided not to move. Too afraid of ruining this almost perfect moment. I'd come to me for safety and comfort. I wanted to give that to her.
Of course you can stay. Get comfortable, okay?
She drifted closer to me, resting her head on the pillow next to mine. She sniffled, giving me a soft smile as I stroked her hair.
Thank you for everything. You make me feel so safe.
I watched Mallory's eyes fall shut. Breathing became deep and slow, and though she had fallen asleep, that little smile never faded. I kept stroking her hair. It felt so soft between my fingers. I was hypnotized. How had I lived all alone for so long? How had I not known what I was missing? The storm gradually retreated, and the night grew darker and quieter. I struggled to keep my eyes open. Maybe I was a little afraid that if I let myself fall asleep, I'd wake up to find this was all a dream. But eventually I fell asleep anyway. With that, I'm going to end this episode here. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you later.